Hello, everybody. It's Graham Cope with another My Music. I hope you're all well, sitting comfortably wherever you are, or if you're stuck on the M25 in this heat, well, you know, I just hope you've got air conditioning. I'll be speaking to my friend Theo in a minute, but first, let's just watch this quick little video from Analog Trash. Theo Adler, thanks so much for joining me today. Where are you coming from?
I'm from Fulham originally, and I'm living around Peckham these days.
Peckham. Oh, very nice indeed. Is it as muggy in Peckham as it is here today? And we've had a sandstorm overnight as well.
Did you really? I would say that it seems quite nice today, quite a clear sky over here. Although possibly a kind of a tint of orange. So.
Well, there you go. Yeah, no, and we're due another sandstorm tonight. Last night I completely missed because I was asleep. But given the fact that it's actually forecast for tonight, I might actually stay up and see if I can film some of that, because it's quite a weird thing to see, a sandstorm. It might make great footage for something like a music video or something. Now, reading your little bio, etc., on your website, I'm not saying I don't believe you, because I do believe you, but you've got one of those bios where it says that, you know, your kind of early influence was Ben Folds 5. But I mean, was it really Ben Folds 5?
Yes, it was. Yeah, it's so my dad had a Ben Folds 5 CD in his car. Yeah. And I remember around 5 years old hearing, I think the song might have been something like Landed. I just thought it was a absolutely great song. I mean, he did a lot of solo work as well, and there's a lot of great records that he did with that. And I think I remember distinctly thinking when I heard that record, I wanted to be like Ben Folds, and you know, that was kind of really kind of what got me started. So
wow. Do you know what? I'm genuinely impressed, because at the age of 5, I think I was into Papa Smurf and the Smurfs.
Right, I see you.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And
literally,
and maybe, you know, maybe the soundtrack to Pete's Dragon or something like that. But that is a genuinely, you know, great songwriter to get into at such an early age. What was it about Ben Folds that really struck a chord?
I think it was the choice of chords, and I was really digging the slightly jazzier style. I think that in the way that when I'm listening to a Ben Folds record, it's almost like I can imagine him in that time and place in America. A lot of his lyrics are referencing specifically those places and some situations that he's been in, and it's kind of tied up in a American humor that I think really, I think that he's a very genuine person, and I think that reflects on his music, the kind of the way that he's. I think that there's a lot of elements that I really like about Ben Folds, and I think specifically also that he did quite a lot of styles. Like his earlier style was almost going down a little bit surfer rock, and was then doing. I remember he made a record with Sarah Bareilles, and that was great. And it's definitely a different direction, and yeah, I think that's something that inspired me a lot as well, because I really want to change really where I'm going with my music, and it's really an ongoing process, and my influences change a lot. So
well, yeah, and again, your bio kind of speaks of that. A lot of the people that you've written about on there talk about that they are experimental types of people who like to kind of change style and experiment with sounds, etc. You mentioned people like the Gorillaz, etc., and Damon Albarn's just his mind blows me. Yeah, I mean, I love watching like little videos of Damon talking about how he plays with different instruments, and you've seen the video clip of him talking to someone about his Marley instruments as well, and they have, on one hand they have a drum machine, and the other hand they have some kind of Malaysian instrument.
Fantastic.
And it's just like, how he puts the two things together and starts going, well, yeah, I can hear a bit of that with a bit of that,
Yes, absolutely. I like to say to people that I talk to about the music as well that my process of making songs probably has changed a bit from when I first started, and definitely still changing. But one of the key things is that while I do still sit down on an instrument to write, sometimes what I find is that when I'm doing other things or in other situations, taking an inspiration from something, that I'll have an idea that I then go back to the instrument to write, because a lot of the time, say, I'll go back and it's in a G sharp major, and I wouldn't have thought G sharp major, but then just in my head that was G sharp major, and it kind of just works. And so I suppose that and I think that especially with those Gorillaz records, there's a ton of different inspirations, and I think it's one of his the things that I like most about him. So
I get a sense of, and please take this the right way, but I get a sense of you being a bit of a Beck as well, in terms of like the way that you would handle perhaps attacking music and production. Is that
yes.
okay to say?
Yeah, I would say when I was making music from kind of my early teens, around that time, I would say that a lot of my influences were very much in the hip hop area as well, and I think that that's something that me and Beck are both fans of. And there's so the use of using samples like drum breaks, and I think with the record that we've done more recently, I'm a big fan of that sound, and so is the producer that I've been working with, Luke Potashnik. However, he was saying that to use live drums would be a really great way to go, and so I'm really excited to have done that record with him, and we've kind of done a bit of a hybrid where we've taken live drums, but we're processing those drums in a way that emulates some of those influences that we both really like. So.
Just makes them that little bit bigger, and you can really hear that. There's a real big kind of beat sound. It's kind of almost at times even sort of like Beastie Boys type.
Yes. Yeah.
Going on there. Yeah. Which is tremendous.
Thanks.
He's based in Somerset.
He is, yes.
Yeah, which is where I am now.
Oh, fantastic! Yes.
Were you coming to Somerset, which is, I like to think is a wonderful part of the world? Were you inspired by being in this area as well?
Absolutely, and my grandmum actually lives quite close to there, so I have been a few times, more to Frome, and so I mean, when we started making the record, we did it across maybe 4 or 5 sessions, possibly a couple more, but that was it was an absolute joy. It's a small village, and I think that the time that I wasn't recording was great for me. Being from London, it's something that I don't get to see too often, and it's so I suppose the and also I've been playing with a band for some gigs recently, and the band hadn't really gone around that area, so it was great to get them down there to see it as well. So
well, hopefully we get you down here to somewhere like the Cheese and Grain to play a gig at some point. That would be
that'd be fantastic. Thank you.
No, that would be brilliant. In terms of, let's go away slightly from the songwriting, in terms of kind of finding your own voice. I think you've got a great voice. You've got quite a distinctive voice. How long did it take you to find your voice as a singer?
I think that it took me a lot longer than I thought it would, to be honest. It's really something that came through just performing as much as I could. And the more that I perform, the more that really that I can see how it's compared to previous shows that I've done, and I'm always looking to give the best show that I can. So I think that with my voice, it's one thing has really been the confidence on the stage. I think that
so live works really helped you develop both your live voice, but also your studio voice as well.
Yes, I would say so, definitely. And the vocals on the record, I would say that we recorded this record over 2 halves, and the second half was after I spent a bit more time in London. I was making some ends meet, and then I had the opportunity, luckily, to travel a tiny bit, and that was a very eye-opening experience for me. So that influenced the record a lot as well. My vocal style changed a little bit, and we actually re-recorded some of those vocal parts once I got back. And so I'd say that also being in a live situation in the room, I think having feedback from the audience, and especially just having that social element in the gigs and stuff, I feel like has influenced my approach to giving a performance as well. And so I would like to say that I'm still very much learning, and that's an ongoing process. So
we never stop learning. We never ever stop learning. And it's interesting you say that the sort of traveling helped develop your vocal style. What was that? Experiencing different cultures, experiencing different sort of musical sounds, or was it just
exactly? And having experiences that I might not have in London with people who show me performances, or they tell me about like a certain style of music. And there's I suppose a lot of factors, in my opinion, that go into a record. One of those being the not just the amount of energy, but the type of energy that goes into a record.
Sure.
I think that especially with some of these different subgenres in places abroad, they'll have a high energy but with a slightly different spin on it in terms of like what they're talking about in the lyrics, or they'll have like a low energy but a high energy in the what they're bringing with the lyrics. So I think that was interesting for me to figure out for the first time, that really I could subvert a factor of a record, whether it's the volume versus what I'm talking about in the lyrics, or if I suppose in a way referencing that classic happy sad thing. I know a lot of bands were quite interested with that aspect. So
it's interesting. It's the second time today that I've spoken to a musician about that. We were doing a live on Instagram earlier today, and one of the people on that was KS was talking about the fact that they'd started recording some vocals for something on one session when they were quite melancholy. They then came back into the studio to finish off the song, but they were in a much happier place and really struggled with it because the mood changed between the two takes.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, that's great to hear, and yeah, I hope to check out that record. So
yeah, but I think it does. I think people don't understand, just especially when you're recording stuff, because there's no kind of reaction, from the room per se. It's quite a dead space. Whatever headspace you're inhabiting really does make an impact upon the recording that comes out.
Yes, yeah, and I think for me it was great to have someone like Luke, because he's a musician as well as taking the producer role, and so I think in terms of really trying to just persuade him of my vision, I had a very interesting experience with that, as it's one of these things that I'm very sure sometimes in what I'm doing, and then it's really good for me to have someone to really bounce an idea around with, and help sometimes break me out of a usual kind of pattern. So
did he ever just say to you during the recording process, did he ever just take you to one side and say, look, tell you what, let's just play on guitar or something for 10 minutes or whatever? Did he ever take you out of the process for a short while just to get you into a different headspace?
Yeah. So he was finding because he also has some instruments that I was really, really fascinated by when I first saw them. So I was really intrigued to just be jamming a little bit. And I think that especially with some of the songs that we were starting with, there was a case of we have the idea, but then how do we really kind of build this from scratch again? And I think that sometimes there might have been a part that I'd played on one instrument, and then it turns out that we messed around with a different instrument, and it really kind of came to being that way. So
yeah, no, that's good. Outside of the music, producing the music, how do you find the rest of the business of getting that music out to people, and having to do stuff like this and the whole social media thing? Do you enjoy that, or is that a challenge to you?
I do enjoy it. It's definitely a challenge, and I think that I'm still very much finding my way with that, as this is my first published record this year. And I hope that I'm doing the right things. I mean, I'm always more than happy to talk about my music, so it's an absolute pleasure to be on the podcast. And
thank you
again. Yeah. So I mean, it's I suppose I think the tricky part for me is to be finding more performances, and to be finding kind of new crowds and this kind of thing. I am getting better at this, so it's I think that the what I'm most excited about is bringing this music this year, and I'm really hoping that it's a thing where, even if it's not a kind of instant thing, that people hear this music, and over the course of time that people will come on board for the journey that is music. And my plans are definitely there to be making more music and a bit of a change of direction. And so
I think the music's tremendous. Is there a crowd you'd like to go after? Is there anybody on the scene at the moment that would be an ideal headliner for you to support, for example, that you would like to, you feel that there would be a gelling there, or actually you would just like to support them because you'd like to learn something?
That's a very good question. I would love to be on the bill of any of the bands that have ever influenced me. I could really imagine myself loving to be on the support act for something like Jungle.
Right. Yeah.
I would say also possibly something like Foals, or bands like Shame, fantastic bands. And I would say, really, possibly some bands like Easy Life I could really enjoy being on the support for. And I think in terms of kind of areas or like crowds that I would like to approach, really, I'm really hoping that the music that I'm making can bring in someone who's wants to listen to my music, really, regardless of whatever scene that they're into. And I think that in a way, I wouldn't want to really pigeonhole my music in.
Well, I was going to say that's kind of important for you, because I'm gathering that you're the kind of artist who wants to evolve and change in terms of be fairly genre fluid as you evolve as well. Anyway, so that you don't want to be pigeonholed in a I'm in that clique.
Yes, yeah. So I think not to say that there aren't influences that are strong on records that I make, but at the same time, yes, I like to think that what I'm doing is a expression of all of the sum of my influences, and trying to really create something a bit new with that. So
yeah, you mentioned Foals there, and I know within the last couple of years, etc. I mean, Foals, the last album was certainly a lot more accessible in terms of kind of a more dancey vibe to it, etc. They gone down the kind of quite the heavy sound, and then they made the last album a bit more dancey, and almost then expanding on that. Of late, they've done remixes of that with various producers who have kind of created dance remixes of that. Is that something you would like to explore with your music as well, a bit more?
Absolutely.
Maybe
I would love to, even right now, if anyone wants to remix my song, and if you're hearing this, please go for it, and would absolutely love to hear it. And I think, yes,
the stems are available at a price.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of dance music, I'm definitely a fan of dance music. I know that it's not been a super heavy influence on the records that I've been making at the moment. However, it's definitely things that I've experimented with making music, and would really want to expand in those areas in a way. And I've definitely have plans for my next project, so I don't want to give too much away. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely I'm a fan of the Foals. I think they make some great records, and I've been really interested to see this development and evolution of the music, should I say. And some of the biggest influences for me have had an ongoing evolution of their music, and I think that really it's a very good thing for someone making music to do, because it keeps the passion for the music as well, listening to new music and reinvigorating that way.
Can you see yourself becoming a bit, hopefully with success to give you money to do these things, etc. as well, but could you see yourself becoming a little bit like a Damon Albarn, perhaps wanting to combine all of the elements of what you were talking about earlier, the travel, maybe going, like he went to Mali and he kind of discovered these musicians, a bit like Paul Simon did ahead of him, but maybe traveling to somewhere, discovering a culture, discovering completely different instrumentation or different ways of playing, and kind of trying to bring that back into Western culture so that we can understand it? Would you see yourself being
Absolutely.
that in the future?
Yes, yeah, and I'd like to think that I've already, in a small way, started that. With all of the travel that I've been fortunate enough to be able to do, I've heard some amazing music that I might have otherwise never heard. And I think absolutely I would love to go to places like Jamaica, the West Indies, Caribbean, places like this. They have some fantastic music, and I'm friends with a musician for quite a number of years now who lives in Trinidad, and always been fascinated to hear where he's coming from, his musical world. And I think, when you mentioned Damon Albarn specifically, one of the things that I'm very fond of is his production. And I would love to produce for other artists. The plan was to hopefully make a name for myself a tiny bit, and then hopefully that would persuade some artists to let me collaborate on their records and bring what I want to bring to the record. So,
oh well, I hope that all happens for you, my friend.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate that.
And it really should. Thanks so much for coming along and having a quick chat with me today. I hope this has infused some people to find out a bit more about you, find out a bit more about your music. They would be missing out if they didn't. Let me just say that.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate that. And I would love anyone who hears this to check out my music. It's I've got a EP that I'm actually announcing here for the Out of Anywhere for the first time. My EP drops November the 10th. It's going to be 8 songs in total. So all the songs I've recorded this year, plus a few extras. So yeah, I'm really grateful also for having me on the show. So thanks so much.
That's no problem at all. Do you have a name for the EP yet? Did we have?
Yes, it's called Revealer.
Revealer. Well, there you go. There you go, Revealer. And will that be available on physical format as well as or just digital?
Just digital for now. Hopefully physical at some point.
Guys, you can make that happen, actually. If you want the physical format of it, it's just up to you. It's as simple as that. Just keep going at Theo and saying, yeah, I want it on physical format. I'll throw some money at you. That's the way that we turn these things from liquid reality into physical reality. If you want it, then you have to put some money where your mouth is. All right. I have to tell people that because at the end of the day, some people think that the black dot in the corner of the room just emits music which is made on trees. It's not. Musicians like Theo spend an awful long time making that kind of music. If you've enjoyed today, please do share with all of your friends, because people like Theo, that's how they get known out there. So please do that and share this around with all of your friends and let them know. And thank you so much for coming on and doing this for me.
Likewise, thanks so much for having me, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
Until next time, this has been My Music with me, Graham Cofe. Do remember to share and subscribe to this, and I'll see you soon.